I don't have the best habits in the world. I don't eat like whole foods only and stuff like that. The night before all my matches, I eat like 2,000, 3,000 calories of like Wingstop or pizza or like some terrible junk food that's super processed just to like knock me out. But that's when I play my best and that's when I'm happy. So I have like a routine that kind of like makes me happy. And as long as I follow it and I'm happy, I'll play good. So yeah, I guess kind of.
Hey everyone, Seijitsu here. I'm here with 100 Thieves eeiu after their victory today against Evil Geniuses. So after the first week against Sentinels, really tough loss, but you really were able to bounce back. Within the week leading up to this series, what was 100 Thieves up to in terms of just the practice and like the scrimmages, things like that?
Yeah, we were honestly like the last week of scrims has been pretty hard for us, but the benefit of it is that this last week was like incredibly impactful in terms of what we learned. We had like a weak area of our game that we were kind of glossing over for a lot of the time, trying to fix like more like core fundamental foundation issues. But now that we have the foundation and we're starting to work on, I guess like, I don't want to just make it like broad or vague and say team play, but in reality, it's kind of just like team play. Now that we're finally working on like the way that we play as a team and the stuff that we're really good at and strong at, I feel like this last week of practice has been insane for that reason.
When you say team play, is that primarily centered around communication? Is that on, I spoke to Kaplan and talked about like decisiveness during unfamiliar situations. Kind of talk to me about that a bit more.
Yeah, it's funny. Kaplan and Sentinels are probably dealing with like the similar things that we're dealing with. Yeah, it is like communication and decisiveness and lack of hesitation. I feel like in the heat of the moment in Valorant, a lot of like micro fights and the things that kind of win you matches is lack of hesitation and very, very constant decisiveness with everybody being on the same page. So you kind of need like, I would say like three things. You need to be decisive without hesitating. You need to all be on the same page. So all your teammates kind of have to have that like awareness of what the other people are doing. And you're going to need the comms for all that because the comms kind of tell you like what everybody is kind of doing. It helps with the awareness portion of it. So yeah, it's kind of exactly like what Kaplan said is the things that we're kind of talking to and dealing with right now. So yeah, decisiveness, comms, all being on the same page, pretty much it.
How do you compartmentalize that decisiveness and all these different things in these very fast scenarios? Is it primarily doing the work in the prep more so, or is it kind of just training, I guess, mentally so that you don't get flustered by all like this util and surprises?
Yeah, so for me, the way I like to handle it personally is when we're in scrims and we're practicing, I'll try to ask as many questions as I can when I notice that I don't think about a scenario or play a scenario the same way my teammates would play it. So let's say like we're playing Fracture and we get crunched by a dish crunch. Like they fight us A main and they fight us dish and we're defending and we're in A main. I'd want to kind of understand my teammates' perspectives as to when they want to push through A main, when they don't want to push through A main, when they'd rather trap dish. So in terms of practice, I try to kind of ask as many questions so I understand my teammates' perspectives so that way I can call to it better when we get in the game. But as for like when we're in the match, for me, a lot of it is like me playing the game, like aim, positioning, whatever, all that is kind of just habit. It's all subconscious. And for me, communicating like micro fights is a lot more like conscious. Like I'm thinking about it actively. I'll look at my mini map, get like a picture of like what's going on, and then consciously like try to analyze the solution for the scenario. So that's kind of how I like compartmentalize it in the sense of playing is sort of all habit, and then micro fights and communication and stuff like that comes from like consciously analyzing our situation and finding out what works.
You have a very organized mind for these different things, because you also didn't say like or all through that as well, which is really impressive. I'm curious, like when you kind of have like this very organized mindset towards things like that, was that something that was a learned trait, or was that something that naturally came to you when you say joined NRG? Like where did this kind of mindset towards like improvement and asking questions come from?
I think when I first joined NRG, it was sort of like my first real pro team. When I joined T1 at the very start of my career, I was just given a bunch of like hard rules and didn't really know like what to listen to, what not to listen to. When I joined NRG, it was sort of where I found out how I like to play, like on autopilot, kind of like what I'm comfortable doing, what habits I would repeat in a match, what I'd constantly keep doing. And I noticed I'm not just like an all well-round player. I'll do every single decision. I definitely have things that I like doing, and I noticed that on NRG, and I noticed it especially on M80. And I would say the biggest thing is when I joined 100 Thieves, Tony, our head coach, is kind of like he's like a systems-oriented thinker. So instead of giving people like hard rules, he'll give people systems to think about and apply it to, like multiple different situations and stuff like that. So after I kind of did that on 100 Thieves and then we won stage 1, I realized I can kind of do it to a lot of the parts of my game. Like I don't have to single-handedly only keep it to like our system side of Valorant and our team play. I can do it with like all the other things that I do when I play Valorant. Like for example, if I consciously think about like the way my mouse feels in my hand or if I'm aiming or whatever, and I don't just leave it up to like habit, it usually I aim worse. So like for me, kind of like testing out certain things and figuring out like what is the best way to organize them has definitely been something I've started doing recently, but I've used the information throughout like all my career to do it, I guess is the best way to put it.
That's a really interesting way of kind of just describing everything. So, for you, how important is like a warm-up routine and consistency leading up to matches for you? Do you feel off if you kind of anything just goes awry where you're like, my mouse pad got lost, or like you spilled coffee on your, well, that one makes sense, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, well, it depends on what it is, right? So like for like mouse pad or like keyboard or stuff like that, I don't really care too much about it. Like as long as it feels comfortable, I don't really mind. Because peripherals are all just kind of feel for me. It's not like it has to be like super, super set in stone. Like I said, I don't think about the way my mouse feels in my hand or anything like that, because I feel like the more you think about that stuff, the more of like a rabbit hole you go down. So for me, like peripherals and stuff don't have to be too certain, but yeah, you're definitely right. Like routine and stuff like that, like the stuff that I try to organize that I know works for me is definitely like, it needs to be consistent and it needs to just pretty much just make me happy. Like I don't have the best habits in the world. I don't eat like whole foods only and stuff like that. The night before all my matches, I eat like 2,000, 3,000 calories of like Wingstop or pizza or like some terrible junk food that's super processed just to like knock me out. But that's when I play my best and that's when I'm happy. So I have like a routine that kind of like makes me happy, and as long as I follow it and I'm happy, I'll play good. So yeah, I guess kind of
2,000 to 3,000 calories of Wingstop night.
A lot.
Every single night.
Sometimes it's Wingstop, sometimes it's like I'll get like halal guys or something like that. But yeah, it's usually like some sort of like protein oriented meal, and it's a lot, like over 2,000 calories at least every night. Yeah, it knocks me on my ass.
Have you ever tried melatonin?
I mean, I tried melatonin, and it's not like melatonin's bad for me, but it's something about like eating all the food to the point where I feel like I'm gonna like puke that makes me like confident the next morning when I lead up to the match. I don't know what it is. It's just routine.
No, it's all cool. Sometimes like just getting the itis to sleep, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I like knocking out with food.
Like, I had Wingstop for the first time like a year ago.
Oh, really?
Pretty goated. I understand. Are you garlic parmesan? What's your flavor?
Yeah, I get some garlic parm, and then I forgot what the barbecue flavor is called. It's like something barbecue. I don't think so. It's like something barbecue. It's like the fourth option down on Uber Eats, and then I got like garlic parm as well. Yeah. No, it's nice.
Well, I love that for you. I actually wanted to backtrack a bit with that whole like process and how Zix is really, because Zix, 100 Thieves, they really talk about this team being a very process-oriented team. When you came into 100 Thieves in 2024, was that one of the first things that you were like I guess part of the culture, like bringing in where Zix was like, we're a process-oriented team, we're not going to be affected by wins and losses? Or was that something that was adopted after like the team's first tournament when you didn't do one kickoff in 2024?
Oh yeah, no, I was terrible. When I came to kickoff and when they were scrimming with me, when they first picked me up, I was a terrible, terrible player. Like my decision-making was trash. I didn't know like what I was really doing in a lot of scenarios, and I didn't really have like a good grasp of the game. And then Boosty and Tony coming in, it seemed like they knew everything and they could almost predict the way that things would happen before they happened based off like pattern recognition and a bunch of like random stuff, right? So coming into the team, I had no sense of like a process-oriented mindset or anything like that, or like solutions focused and all this stuff. But after we lost in kickoff and I felt like I was kind of at like a low of my career, I like full bought in. Like I gave all my will and anything I could to the system and the process, fully trusted it as much as I could. And then when I started to notice how much my game was improving and how much the team was improving doing it, to me, it's like kind of a no-brainer for me to keep doing it and keep thinking that way, especially like seeing the large scale of improvement from a few months on 100 Thieves in comparison to like 2-3 years going from Energy to M80. It was definitely like, it felt like when we have a process, it feels like we can build on top of what we already have. And for what I was doing on like M80, for example, or like back on Energy, it feels like I have like highs and lows to the sense of like my confidence isn't like founded in something. It just kind of like goes up and down based on like how I'm playing or whatever, versus like now it's like I know I have all this stuff to fall back on, so regardless of how I feel the day of or anything like that, I'm just building.
Sounds like your mental bandwidth is a lot more like you have more mental bandwidth to kind of focus on your play because everything's so organized. Do you think that's kind of just something more so tier 1 and 100 Thieves related, or was it, I don't know how to phrase this, because it seems like the change from M80 to 100 Thieves, the biggest help for you was just having that infrastructure and support to kind of organize all these thoughts and things like that.
Yeah, no, organizing everything and putting it into like systems and like a process like this and building on it, definitely, it's like the way you put it, like it gives me like a lot of like open space to think about other things and get really like involved in the game. So I kind of like, I really like how using the things that Tony has taught us and Boosty has taught us lets me like, I mean, it's pretty much like what you said. Like I can do more things that I wouldn't be able to do before because I'm not overwhelmed anymore because of how simple everything has kind of become.
So then my final question is, what's the next step in the process? Let's actually speak to you only, right? For you, in your specific process for, let's say, split 1, what's the main thing that you would want to work on?
I think for me, I noticed that when I played my best, I would say stage 1 is when I played my best because that's when we won. Nothing else really like matters. Like we lost in kickoff or we lose in stage 2. I really only care about like when we won in stage 1. So when I played my best, I feel like I had a very clear understanding of what everybody on our team kind of like doing before they would even make the decisions. So I think the biggest thing I want to work on this year for stage 1, for starters, is kind of doing that, like asking my teammates as many questions as I can and trying to get on the same page as them outside of the server or outside of the match time, so that when we get in the match and we're in the server, I'm like flowing with everybody, even without comms. That's kind of like what I want to try to do this year.
Awesome, you. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.